Every morning, your hands and knees feel stiff and tight before you even stand up. You wiggle your fingers, roll your ankles, and slowly ease yourself upright, joint by joint. By the time you reach the kitchen, that stiffness has almost completely disappeared on its own. So, what is actually going on, and is this simply what getting older now feels like? Here's the honest answer. This stiffness is not automatically arthritis, and it is not just age. Quick note, this video is educational only, not medical advice, so always check with your own doctor. There is a real, well understood reason your joints feel locked up first thing in the morning, and once you understand it, that stiff, creaky start to your day suddenly makes complete sense. Think about your knees when you climb the stairs on a cold, stiff morning like this one, or your fingers struggling to twist open a jar lid you have opened 1,000 times before. Maybe it's your hips aching as you swing your legs out of bed toward the floor. Your shoulders might feel tight reaching up to a high kitchen shelf for your morning coffee mug. Hi, I'm Hank, and today we're talking about why your joints stiffen up after 60 years old. For most people, the very first fear is the same word, arthritis, creeping in with age. But plain morning stiffness that fades as you move is often a completely different story. Real inflammatory arthritis usually comes with extra clues, like swelling, warmth, or ongoing redness in a joint. Simple morning stiffness that loosens up within minutes is telling you something else entirely. It's telling you about a fluid inside every one of your joints, quietly doing its job. That fluid has a name most people have never once heard in their entire life. It's called synovial fluid, and it may be the real star of this whole story. Picture the last time you tried opening a heavy door with rusty, dry hinges. It creaks, it resists, and then it swings smoothly once you push it a few times. Your joints can behave in almost exactly that same stubborn, then smoother kind of way. Every joint you own, knee, hip, shoulder, finger, relies on this fluid to move smoothly. Overnight, while you sleep for hours without moving, that fluid settles and slows down. That's the real clue, and it has almost nothing to do with your joints wearing out. Think about your grandchildren watching you struggle to get up off the living room floor, or reaching for a low cupboard and feeling your knees complain the entire way down. Maybe it's gardening, kneeling in the dirt, then needing a moment before you can stand. For some people, it's simply walking the dog first thing, feeling every stiff, slow step. None of these moments necessarily mean your cartilage is wearing away underneath the surface. They may simply mean your joint fluid needs a few minutes to warm up and circulate. This is genuinely good news because it means there is something simple you can actually do. Before we get to that, let's understand exactly what this fluid does inside your body. Every joint in your body is a small, sealed capsule surrounding two bones that meet. Inside that capsule sits a thin layer of fluid, cushioning and lubricating everything that moves. Without it, bone would grind directly against bone every single time you took a step. With it, your joints glide almost silently thousands of times throughout an ordinary day. I want you to remember one simple word today: lubrication, not damage, not disease. As we age, our joints can naturally produce and circulate this fluid a little more slowly. That is simply one of the ways the body changes with age, nothing more sinister. It is not the same thing as the joint breaking down or being permanently injured. Long hours of stillness, like 8 hours of sleep, can slow that circulation down even further, which is exactly why mornings feel worse than any other part of your entire day. Coming up, we'll meet someone who lived with this exact confusion for years and finally understood why. Meet Margaret, 68 years old, a woman who spent 2 winters completely convinced her knees were simply falling apart for good. Margaret is simply an example here, not a real patient, but her story mirrors what so many people quietly experience. Every single morning, Margaret's knees felt frozen solid, and every night she quietly worried that arthritis was finally taking over her life. What Margaret didn't know yet was the simple science of how her own joints were built to work. Every joint is lined with a thin membrane called the synovium, which produces that lubricating fluid we mentioned. This synovial fluid carries nutrients into the cartilage and carries waste products back out again constantly. It behaves differently depending on pressure, becoming thicker when still and thinner the moment you start moving. If this is making sense so far, a quick subscribe helps more people over 60 find this explanation. Movement itself is actually what pumps this fluid around your joint and keeps the cartilage underneath properly nourished and healthy. So the less you move, especially through 8 still hours of overnight sleep, the less that fluid gets circulated and refreshed. This is exactly why your joints feel their absolute worst in the very first moments after you wake up each morning. By mid-morning, after some ordinary walking around the house, that same fluid has warmed up and started flowing properly again. That is the entire reason stiffness quietly fades on its own within minutes, without you doing anything dramatic at all. Margaret noticed this exact pattern too, though for 2 long winters she never once connected the dots for herself. She simply assumed stiff knees every morning meant her joints were slowly and permanently wearing down for good. Age can absolutely play a role here, but not in the frightening, damaging way most people quietly assume it does. As we get older, the synovium can naturally produce a little less fluid and circulate it a touch more slowly. This is simply a normal, well-documented part of how aging joints work, not a sign that anything inside is broken. Clinicians who work with older adults describe this exact pattern often and separate it clearly from inflammatory joint disease. Inflammatory arthritis tends to behave quite differently, often bringing real swelling, heat, and redness that does not simply fade away. That difference really matters, so let's make it simple and completely clear for you right now, together. Plain morning stiffness fades within about 30 minutes, brings no real swelling, and gets better with gentle movement. Inflammatory arthritis often lasts much longer than 30 minutes, brings visible swelling and warmth, and sometimes stays painful through the day. We will come back to exactly when it's worth calling your doctor a little later on in this video. For now, let's return to that squeaky, rusty door hinge picture we mentioned earlier in this video. A hinge that sits closed and completely unused for a long stretch of time tends to seize up slightly. The moment you start swinging that door back and forth repeatedly, the resistance slowly and steadily works itself loose. Your knees, your hips, and your fingers can work in a strikingly similar way after a long, still night. Margaret's own daughter actually compared her mother's slow morning routine to exactly this kind of rusty, unused hinge. We are exactly halfway through now, and here is the one sentence worth remembering: movement is the oil for your joints. Cartilage itself has no direct blood supply of its own, so it depends almost entirely on this fluid for nutrition. Every single time a joint moves, fluid gets gently squeezed through the cartilage, almost like water through a sponge. Stay still for too long, and that gentle sponge-like exchange simply slows down to a near standstill. That is precisely what happens to your joints overnight, and precisely why morning ends up the stiffest part of your entire day. There's one more piece of this puzzle involving something as ordinary as the water you drink coming up shortly. Synovial fluid is made mostly of water, drawn continuously from your bloodstream into that small sealed joint capsule around each bone. If your body runs a little low on fluids overall, that joint lubrication can end up running noticeably thinner too. This is one small but real reason hydration keeps coming up whenever joint comfort is discussed by clinicians who treat aging. We will turn this into a genuinely practical, simple step for you very soon, so keep this in mind. Here's the whole picture in one image. Your joints are like a door hinge that needs oiling every single day. Sit still too long and the hinge tightens up, move gently, and the oil starts flowing again quite naturally. Margaret's real turning point came the day her daughter gently suggested she try moving a little before even leaving her bed. Sounds almost too simple to matter, but simple is very often exactly what genuinely works for stiff morning joints. Before Margaret's feet even touched the cold floor, she started gently pointing and flexing her toes right there in bed. Then came slow ankle circles, then gently bending each knee, all done before she even stood up for the day. This gentle in-bed warm-up gives that thickened overnight fluid a head start before you ever put real weight on it. It's the very same idea as gently warming up a car engine before driving off on a cold morning. You wouldn't floor the gas pedal the instant you start a freezing engine, and your joints work in a similar way. Give them a moment, a little gentle motion first, before asking them to carry your full body weight. Margaret started noticing her first 10 steps each morning felt noticeably less locked up than they used to. It wasn't instant, and it certainly wasn't dramatic, but the pattern was genuinely, quietly real for her over time. This is the same basic reason physical therapists so often recommend gentle movement over long stretches of complete rest. Rest certainly has its place, but for ordinary morning stiffness, gentle movement is usually the more helpful choice overall. That does not mean pushing hard through real pain at all. It simply means simple, unhurried, deliberate motion instead. Think of it as gently reintroducing oil to that door hinge before asking it to swing all the way open. Now let's connect all of this directly to your own actual morning, starting the moment your alarm goes off. The instant you wake up, resist the urge to spring straight upright and out of the bed immediately. Give yourself just 60 quiet seconds of slow ankle rolls, gentle knee bends, and soft finger stretches first. This tiny 60-second window is exactly when that thickened overnight fluid starts warming up and thinning out again. It costs you absolutely nothing, takes almost no extra time, and works directly with your own body's natural design. Margaret now calls it her own 60-second rule, and she genuinely never skips it, even on her most rushed mornings. Within just a few weeks, she noticed her knees felt looser by the time she even reached her kitchen. She still gets a little stiff on some mornings, because that is simply still a normal part of getting older. But the fear, the assumption that something serious was quietly wrong inside her gradually disappeared for her over time. Up next, the full simple routine, plus exactly when stiffness might be worth a doctor's visit, and a quick like helps. Let's build your full simple morning protocol now, one step at a time, starting well before your feet ever touch the cold floor at all. Step 1. While still lying in bed, spend about 60 seconds on slow ankle circles, gentle toe points, and easy knee bends before rising. Step 2. Before standing fully upright, sit on the edge of the bed for a moment and roll your shoulders a few slow times. Step 3. Stand up slowly, holding something sturdy nearby if you need to, and take your very first few steps deliberately slow. Step 4. A warm morning shower can gently loosen stiff joints even further, almost like adding a little extra oil to that hinge. If a full shower isn't practical some mornings, a warm towel or a gentle heating pad on a stiff joint works in a similar way. Step 5. Drink a full glass of water first thing in the morning, since the fluid inside your joints is made mostly of water itself. Staying steadily hydrated throughout the entire day gives your body exactly what it needs to keep that joint fluid properly circulating. This isn't about forcing down excessive amounts of water, just staying consistently and comfortably hydrated across your normal ordinary day. Step 6. Before any real activity like gardening, a walk, or even grocery shopping, spend a minute or two warming up first. Gentle marching in place, a few easy arm circles, or slow shallow squats all count as a perfectly good warm-up. Step 7. Try not to sit completely still for hours on end throughout your day, whenever that's realistically possible for you. Standing up, stretching, or walking a short lap around the room every hour or so keeps that joint fluid gently moving and refreshed. Step 8. Posture matters too, since sitting slumped for long periods can quietly put uneven pressure on certain joints over time. Simple adjustments like a supportive chair, a small cushion, or a slightly raised seat can noticeably ease pressure on stiff hips and knees. Step 9. Gentle, regular movement spread across the whole week matters far more than one intense burst of activity once in a while. Walking, swimming, or light stretching on most days keeps that whole internal lubrication system working the way it's naturally designed to. Now, the honest part of this video, sometimes stiffness really is a signal worth a doctor's attention, and that is genuinely okay too. If your stiffness comes together with real swelling, redness, or a noticeable warmth around the joint, that's worth mentioning to your doctor. If stiffness stays severe well past 30 minutes every single morning without easing up, that's also worth a real conversation with your doctor. These particular signs could point towards something like inflammatory arthritis, a condition that benefits from proper medical evaluation and a real diagnosis. That is not meant to scare you at all, only to help you clearly know the honest difference between the two. For most people who honestly look at their own mornings, this is simply ordinary, explainable, everyday stiffness quietly at play. Margaret eventually brought her own pattern up with her doctor anyway, simply to be completely sure about everything. Her doctor confirmed her pattern matched ordinary, age-related stiffness with absolutely none of the red flags we just covered together. That single, simple conversation gave Margaret a genuine peace of mind she hadn't felt in nearly 2 full winters. So her 60-second rule, warm showers, steady hydration, and regular gentle movement all became her new, simple, everyday normal. None of it required a single supplement to buy, a prescription, or any dramatic, complicated lifestyle overhaul whatsoever for her to follow. Just small, steady daily habits, working directly with how your own joints were always naturally designed to move, circulate, and function well. Let's bring this whole story together now, and turn every piece of it into something simple you can genuinely start tomorrow morning. Your morning stiffness is very often simply that natural fluid, not damaged, slowly warming up again after one long, completely still night of sleep. Just 60 seconds of gentle movement in bed, one full glass of water, and a warm shower can genuinely change your entire morning. Remember the one key step above all else, move gently before you fully rise, because movement truly is the oil for your joints. This is not arthritis quietly creeping in overnight, and it is not simply your age failing you. Either way, most of the time, it is simply your body's own natural lubrication system, quietly asking for a gentle warm-up before a full day of real use. As always, this video is meant purely to be educational, not medical advice, so please talk with your own doctor about your specific situation and history. And remember that one honest red flag from earlier: real swelling, redness, warmth, or stiffness lasting well past 30 minutes deserves a doctor's proper look. If this helped explain your own mornings a little better, consider subscribing for more calm, honest, straightforward health explainers just like this one. Margaret still wakes up a little stiff on some mornings, but she no longer wakes up afraid of what that stiffness might mean. Tomorrow morning, before you even sit all the way up, give your joints their 60 seconds and watch that familiar stiffness ease away with real hope.